What up, world? This is part 2 of building a home studio, an affordable studio at home. So yesterday we covered everything you need from the interface to the computer to the monitors. Now it's time to understand why I'm doing this video. Well, basically, I was a person who would go to the studio, would always pay hourly. We had to use, back in the days, we had to do a lot of bigger blocks when we did studio sessions. And a lot of times you get these engineers that didn't understand the genre of music that they're mixing. I never walked out with a finished song. I never walked in the studio and then left out the same day with a finished song. All of my customers walk in with an idea and they walk out with a finished song. And I've learned how to do that. So it's very seldom that a customer that comes to me will have to come back and re-record a song. So that's something I said that I would do. I mean, once I figured out how to do it, usually that's what happened to me. I knew how to mix really fast. Now, I'm somebody that started recording in the studio back in '92 when everything was on analog, from 2-inch tape to 8-ats, and spent thousands of dollars, man. And a lot of times engineers would engineer your music, but they didn't understand the genre of music. So a lot of times you get these songs done and they don't know the genre, so they'll mix it a certain way. And so that's one thing that would get me. A lot of these engineers, they would ask you, what do you want? Well, how do you want it? Is that it? Like, I've never had to ask a customer what they wanted. If a customer did want anything on a mix, they would tell me, hey man, can you bring me up? Or, I want it to knock, or whatever. I want, my vocals to have reverb or something on them. But I never have to ask a person what they want. I know what to do. Any genre of music that I've recorded hip hop, R&B. I've recorded Latin music, like I've recorded gospel. I've recorded folk. I've recorded rock. And you have to know how to mix each genre. So if you don't know how to mix each genre, it'll become a problem. It's not hard. I mean, you basically have to learn, what to listen for. You got to understand when you're dealing with, R&B and hip hop, like dance music, the drums are the most important thing first, and all the other instruments. When you're dealing with rock or metal, you're dealing with the guitars. The guitars is your strongest weapon. You got to know how to pan the guitars, how to compress them. The vocals are compressed different when you do rock. They're a lot more aggressive. You have to know how to position yourself. And every time you sing, you got to understand. If you're the kind of person who don't understand RMS levels or how to read any levels, the main thing you don't want to do, you never want any music or your vocals to go into the red. If you don't understand the dBs, like the decimals, go by the colors. You don't want to record anything in the red. Nothing should be in the red until you master, if you decide to master, if you want to master. But anytime you're tracking in, recording, or mixing, no instrument should never be in the red or the yellow. So if you're a person who don't understand, the colors have as a warning, basically. Green and yellow. Green means it's good. Yellow means you're kind of, cutting it close. Red means you're peaking. Peak means you're at 0 dBs, which if you record a vocal peaked out or instrument peaked out, it will distort when you try to master it because the signal will be too powerful. So, what I'm going to do in this segment is basically just tell you who I am, what I do. I'm an artist. I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm a videographer as well. I'm shooting net in this as we get done with this. But I was a person who was learning how to record back in '99. I think my first song I recorded was in '99, where I actually walked in a studio and walked out with something that was given to me. It was almost mixed. My boy Ricardo Love, he was the one that that turned me on to Cubase, because I'm a Cubase user. Shout out to Ricardo. He's the reason why I do Cubase and still use it to this day. But I was using Cubase because he used Cubase, and I saw him doing, back in '96, he was doing production on a laptop, and I was like, what is that? He was doing production on a laptop in 1996 with Cubase on it. So the first Cubase I bought was 3.7, and that was way back in '99. And in 2000, I ended up learning how to basically me going to the studio all those years and seeing the compressor and the limiters and the EQs and the mixing board. When I finally bought the program, everything, all the images of the plugins looked similar to the hardware I saw. So I didn't even know that I knew anything about it. So Ricardo said, "Hey man, just buy the program, get a computer." And I was like, "Man, computer for nerds. I didn't get no computer." That was like a '99. I bought a computer. The computer wasn't built for that, but I had Cubase. It didn't really function well on it because back then computers weren't fast. Back then you didn't get a lot of RAM, so I ended up getting a gateway computer. It would handle. So I ended up getting that computer. I started producing and recording people, and then before you know it, I moved out of the country to Australia. But I was able to make myself record out of the studio. I did my first album in 2002. Got it pressed together 2002. My album was done. But I got turned on, and I was always interested in engineering. From that point on, I was interested in getting a better sound. So I have years of experience. Even though I'm not a big producer in the mainstream, I have a very good sense of what to do with music. So everything that I gave you in that list yesterday on the first video about the sound card or the interface, the monitors, the mic, the mic stand, those things that I told you to get for your studio, and the computer, those things are valid what you need. And I even say get a computer desk as well. You can get a computer desk if you can. But the sound of the things that I showed you. The sounds that I get out of the studio come with a combination, but I had to go through different stages. Also understand, wherever you record your vocals, you want that room to be dead. What I mean is dead, you don't want no reflection. Like you hear that echo in the room, you don't want that. If you have that sound and that reflection from the walls, I mean your room is not treated. If you do vocals like that, it will come back. And when you mix, you will hear it in your vocals. So my thing is, if you have a closet, especially a walk-in closet, you can turn that into a booth. If you have clothes in it and like blankets, if you have a problem in a room and you want to record in a certain room and you got reflection, if you don't buy any of the padding or any of the studio pads or studio panels, and you don't have the money for studio panels, or if you do have the money for studio panels but you don't want to really use them, you can use blankets. You can use anything that absorb, especially if you cut the corners off in your room, you would actually knock off the reflection. That would give you a clean sound for your vocals and for your mixing. The whole thing about vocals is making sure that you have a dry room. You don't want no reflection in the room. You want it dry. The drier the better. That's what you want. So that's the second part of that, man. So now it's time for you to go create. If you want to go create, my thing is just take some of the tips that I gave you and write it out, man. Dry room, put your vocals in there. Don't record anything that's peaking in the red or the yellow. Make sure everything's in the green if you're going by color codes. But if you understand the decimals and understand that, you can dial certain stuff in. My thing is, you have to develop an ear. When you become a mixer or a mixing engineer, or you become just an artist in general, develop your ear, develop your sound, know what you're looking for. There's no one way to do this. There's no one way to do it. The thing is, you just want to make sure everything is clean and nothing is being, either maxed out to where you have no headroom. Headroom is when if you don't know what headroom is when you have space. So say you do a whole mix and your mixes are in the green or the yellow, you have headroom. If you're mixing and you're in the red, you need to bring those levels down, because when you master, you will get digital pop. You will get popping in there, and you can't get rid of that. So for a clean mix, you have to do that. You have to make sure that you control your levels. And then you got to learn your monitors. If you're going to mix, if you want to go ahead and be a mixing engineer, learn your monitors. You have to learn your monitors. Take a mix of some of your favorite music and play it and listen to them in your monitors. Do not mix with headphones. It's not good for you to mix in headphones. Number one, headphones, your ears is your money. So if you mix it with headphones, what happens is that your ears will be like, woo, they'll be ringing for like days if you mix in headphones. Plus, it's just not sonically good. It's not good to mix headphones. You can damage your hearing. I know a guy of mine. He be yelling and screaming when he talks to you because he can't hear. He played loud music for so long in the studio. Never mix loud. Always mix in monitors. Never mix in headphones. Don't even reference. If you do a reference with headphones, turn it down low. The thing is, don't turn anything loud. Those monitors back there, I've had those monitors for 17 years or 18 years. I never had a problem. They never had to go get fixed or anything. I never blast them. When I had my first set of monitors, I thought you were supposed to blast the music, so I had everything blasted to the peak. I didn't know. And I went to a studio with Ricardo one day, and this boy was mixing real low. I said, "Why are you mixing so low?" He said, "Oh man, your ears is your money. Like, you don't blast the music loud. If it sounds great low, it's gonna sound superb when you turn it up. But you do not want to blast the music because you damage your ears as well." Because most of the engineers, in hip hop, a lot of them are older white guys, and you go to the big studio, they want to play the music loud and impress the client and play it all loud, and everybody's, "Oh yeah." But man, those dudes' ears are dead, bro. A lot of their ears are dead. They just do it. They've been doing it for so long. They can just, they do it. A lot of them can't really hear well because they blast the music, especially when you're in a big studio and they got like the speakers built in the wall and the SSL board and you got all this power. I used to go to the studio and the engineer would mix and he had the music blasting and I had my ears like this. And they're looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, dude, I know that I need my ears. If I was blasting my music like that back then and did it from then to now, I wouldn't be doing this no more. I wouldn't be able to hear. So I would be mixing loud. I mix my mixes low. I don't mix them loud. I never blast these. These speakers will never blow out because I don't blast them. So I understand that when you start doing this, don't blast your music loud. Don't damage your monitors. Make sure you keep them at a moderate level, especially when you mix. Make sure you do that. So this is part 2 of the Affordable Home Studio. Next episode, on part 3, I'm going to show you how to use the equipment, how to use your mic, how to use your interface, and I might use that interface because that mixer in the back is an interface as well. But since I did give you I showed you the M-Track 2x2 by M-Audio, I'll do a reference with that on the next video. Now, before I go, the equipment that I kind of brought to the light was just something that I've used. My interface the M-Track 2x2 that I was telling you by M-Audio, I bought that because I gave my UR22 Steinberg to a friend of mine, and I gave it to her as a gift. But the UR22 is what I was using at first because I'm a Cubase user. You see, every interface comes with recording software. I think the M-Track 2x2 comes with Pro Tools. I think the Focusrite comes with Pro Tools. All the Presonus audio comes with Studio One. The Steinberg, of course, comes with Cubase. So every company has, they give you a free software to record with. But I use Cubase, and that's what I, started with. So a lot of times, no matter what I'm recording on, I always end up using Cubase because that's my favorite program. That's what I got turned on to, and I 100% stand by it. To me, Cubase is one of the best programs out there. Sonically, I think it is. So yeah, man, if you guys like that information, go to the bottom, comment, subscribe, and catch me on part 3 on how to use the equipment in the Affordable Home Studio.